Hi, thanks for joining me here today as we start taking a look at how to light up an Imperial Star Destroyer. To start with, we'll go over how to take it apart. We'll use a hobby knife and we'll start at the front of the ship, sliding it in between the top hull and the bottom hull. It should be relatively easy for you to find where it slides in and should be relatively easy to start making progress at the very front. Shortly, you should be able to see a slight gap forming between the two hull plates. As you continue, you'll want a sharp hobby knife. You'll need to slice open a tab that is located behind that first indentation. There's also a second one hidden behind the second indentation further back on the ship. It should be relatively simple for your hobby knife to slice through if you know that they're there. Once you've done this on both sides, the ship should open apart nicely, and the only thing holding it together are the rear pegs. The rear pegs can be tricky to take apart and may result in damage to the hull. You'll want to ideally attack it from the inside out to prevent the hull from separating. However, as you notice on the second one, I end up breaking the hull there. If this happens to you, it's not a big deal, as the ship can easily be pushed back together when you are completed with the ship, and you'll notice that you will barely be able to tell, if at all. To the casual observer, you'll have to know exactly where to look in order to see any sort of error, and even then it'll be very difficult to observe. Now, with the two hulls apart, we'll start taking a look at taking off the command decks. The engine should just pop out as you saw in this case, because that tab's all that holds it in. With the hull separated, we'll turn our attention to getting the command decks off. You'll want to first start by releasing the tabs that you can see. There should be 4 of them. After you've released all 4 of them, take your knife and slide it in between both sides here on the back. There are hidden tabs there that hold the bridge tower together. Doing that should pop it off easily. Then we'll continue along, loosening the tabs there, and then using our hobby knife to reach the tab down at the bottom to separate the bridge tower itself. Once that's out, the other command decks, there are 3 total, will come off relatively easily. The top half of the bridge should just come off. Use a knife if you need a little bit of leverage. In order to make room for the LEDs for the engines, we'll need to take out the rear section supports. I'll use the Dremel to do this, and I'll use multiple passes along with the hobby knife to get it all clean. You'll want to make sure that there are no sharp edges anywhere, with most of the material removed, I'll just use the Dremel to clean it up now, so it's smooth and does not have any sharp edges. Finally, I'll use my hobby knife here in order to clean up the remaining bits of plastic. And be especially careful here because I want to make sure that there's nothing that's left that's sharp that can cut any of the filaments. I'll want to go ahead and drill out a hole for the fiber optics to go through to all the command decks. We'll need a hole on the top hull and the first 2 of the 3 command decks themselves. It's important to make sure that it's smooth edges so they don't cut any filaments. After cutting out all 3 holes, as well as cleaning them up to make sure that there are no sharp edges, you'll want to stack them back up in the proper assembly order to ensure that they align each other and they're not overshadowing. This way you can have easy access for your fiber optic cables to get through. I'll use an 1/8 inch drill bit in order to drill a hole to allow the fiber optic filaments to get to the bridge itself, as well as to cut a small channel in the top to allow it a pathway. The docking bay doors should actually just pop out with a little bit of pressure. We will need to take a sanding block in order to make it easier for them to come in and out. So after removing them, I'll just sand all 4 edges and continuously try it until it's a comfortable fit. This is the ideal fit here, where it fits in easily and comes out with a little bit of force, but when you just swing the ship itself, it stays in place. Up next, we'll tackle the engines.